What up, everybody? As promised, we are here with Alex Caceres to end the show today. Alex, it's weird calling you a UFC veteran. I'm pretty sure I saw your UFC debut, and it doesn't feel like that long ago. How are you feeling headed into this fight? And is it weird to already be this deep in your career and still putting on just banger after banger after banger of a fight?
It doesn't feel weird. I mean, if I would have to think about it, like, not at all. I just know I've been in it for a long time and just kind of feel like I'm getting into my own and I don't know, just maturing a little bit more here and there. But yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while, like 12 years now.
Yes, 2011. I don't, what is this? 2024. I think we're on
Yeah.
13 years.
Well, they don't count the Ultimate Fighter show, so it's 12.
12, okay, 12 years if they want to be technical. No, man, it feels like it's gone by in a flash for me covering the sport. But you being in it, you mentioned it. You people have seen your growth as a fighter. For so long, it was like, take Alex down. That's it. We get into the octagon, take him down to the ground because they wanted nothing to do with you and your stand up and the karate style of it and everything and the stance. Now it seems like you're a much more well rounded fighter. What do you attribute that growth to? Is it just simply the time and you just learning with time in the octagon, not even in the gym?
Well, not necessarily. Time can make you better in a lot of things, but at the same time, it's how you spend your time. And I think what really made the change was spending my time being more honest with myself and what I needed to grow. So instead of just doing the things that I wanted to do, which is striking all the time, I had to embrace and learn how to love how to do the things that are not necessarily my forte, which was grappling, being a better wrestler. And I have to attribute a lot of that growth to the mixed martial art, I mean, the MMA lab, mixed martial arts lab down in Phoenix, Arizona, which I've been training for about same time I've been in the UFC, about 10 years now, um, on and off with them. They definitely helped me fill those holes in my game plan. So it made me a lot more dangerous on the ground. I felt like I've always been dangerous on the ground. I just didn't have a grasp on the fundamentals of grappling. I
Mm.
knew why I wanted to get better, but the how to had to fall into place.
What we've seen lately, the UFC, and you can speak on this, they've given you no easy opponents. It's kind of like, okay, sorry, you think you're good at featherweight? All right, we're gonna throw you in there with Alex, and we're gonna really test you. And more often than not, you've humbled these guys, and then even in the fights that you came up short, you gave people hell in that octagon. Why do you think it is that they kind of ring your phone and be like, "Hey, I got this guy," and you always say, let's do it. Because a lot of people wouldn't, right? A lot of people are so concerned about that record or chasing the belt or the optics of the fight. Seems like you say yes to everyone.
Well, I mean, everybody's tough in the game. I don't see anybody being less than anybody else, but I definitely do feel like they do give me hard opponents. They give me sometimes um strange matchups. I feel like when there's like matchups that could be exciting, we don't necessarily go that route. Let's go to the but I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I feel I always take everything as a test to see where I stand and where my level is at. So I try not to take it personally, but I just know I don't have the personality that you want to build something off, but I do have the fighting ability that you can build other fighters off,
Hmm.
if that would make any sense.
I mean, it definitely does from the outside, but looking at your record over the past couple of years, you lost to people, but only really high level caliber people, and it took them 3 rounds in a decision that could have went either way to beat you. So it seems like them giving you these opponents are like they could probably give them to someone else and build their name as well. Them giving them to you is like a really big roll of the dice. You're not in gatekeeper mode. You're in 12 years deep that we've established, but it seems like you're only getting better and you're taking on these challenges more often than not passing them. What's your goals in terms of if they want to build a name off of you, that's fine and dandy. They know you're going to strike, you're going to be exciting. They can test prospects against you all day. What are your goals when you take these fights?
I don't necessarily have any straightforward goals. I'm always trying to do the best that I possibly can, but my goal in general is simply to understand myself a lot better. And I feel the only way to do that is to put myself in difficult situations and seeing how I can persevere over those difficult situations. But other than that, I don't necessarily have any goals. I simply like to do what I do, and I just like to get out there and do it. So I don't mind them, whether they're trying to beat me out or muddy my record or doing whatever. I don't know what their motivation is, but whatever. I do ask for more high profile fights. I do ask for the harder opponents because I'm not looking for easy wins. I'm not looking just to bide my time. I want to try and move and progress forward. And as well, I want to answer that question. I want to know the truth about myself. Am I good enough? Am I ready for this opponent? Am I ready to do this? In fights where I've broken bones during the fight, I continue to fight because I want to see who I am truly. I don't want to make an excuse. So even with a broken arm or broken hand, I really want to, I don't know. It's a weird feeling. Don't get me wrong. I am concerned when stuff like that does happen, and my mind is like wigging out. But I always try to go back to the fact that I'm ready to die there, or I'm already dead. There is no hope for a positive outcome when I'm in the cage. There's just doing it.
That's the most like real martial arts answer I've ever heard. And it seems like that's an amazing goal. So many people would say like they're chasing the belts, or like there's always, you're really just in there in the moment. But with that, over the past, I'd say 4 years of career, we really seen you really hone in on your skills and everything. What is that higher level for you? What do you see as, because you said you're trying to prove it. Like what does that look like to you? What is your final form in anime standards? What's that goal look like to you? Like what is your ceiling?
Well, like I said, being I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to put a title on it or any type of figure on it or measurement to it because I don't want to reach that ceiling. I don't want there to be a goal or an end point. I want to enjoy the journey as long as it lasts. If I can stay in the cage fighting when I'm 50, by all means, let me try it. It's just I'm a martial artist at heart, and I want, this is something that I cannot live without. So whether I'm doing it in the UFC or in the backyard or wherever it may be, I want to try and just grow as a person. Um, to be stronger, I guess to me, to be stronger, it means to be more peaceful,
Hmm.
you know. And I've I felt like I had a very combative life and a very hard struggle coming up as a child, teenager, all the way into my adulthood. So in a lifetime of war, I try to seek uh I guess the peace on the other side of that. I don't mean when it ends, but it allows me to be peaceful. It allows me to choose peace, knowing or being able to compete and do these things that are not necessarily peaceful. I want to do it in a peaceful manner. But I guess it's just the I guess kind of just quell the thoughts in my head. It has nothing to do with my opponents. It has nothing to do with the belts or accolades. Don't get me wrong. I try to achieve these things because it is the process of being a competitive fighter. But at the end of the day, it simply has to do with the fact that I just like doing it. And it's not just fighting. I like being in crisis situations and observing myself act calmly. If I don't know, it's weird.
It's like you're in bullet mode. Like everything else is going fast around you and you just slow everything down. No, that's definitely making sense, right? Like that's why people say they love being like a surgeon or a police officer. Like they like those heightened situations. It's an adrenaline rush. How how do you control yourself? Because it always looks like you're in such command when you're in that octagon. It looks as though more often than not, you bend the will of your opponent into your style. Because honestly, if I go in the octagon against you, it's like I'm not standing and striking with you. Definitely not at a distance. Either we're going to throw haymakers or I'm going to wrestle you. And we're going to figure this out. But it seems like a lot of opponents, can't really get within that distance. They can't really pressure you. You're always calm. You're always throwing your kicks. You're always maintaining your range. How do you impose yourself on the opponents when they now have 12 years of tape to figure you out?
Well, like I don't try to impose my will, I guess. I'm not trying to do that. I do know that like I always say this in interviews, and I say like I don't even know what I'm going to do when I get in the cage. So this is why my opponents have a very difficult time reading me or studying tape on me. I play to the feeling of what's going on in the moment. Or how would you say, coach, my John Crouch, one of my coach from the MMA lab, says I'm an in the moment fighter. So I address the situation accordingly at the very moment that it's happening, and I try not to have any attachments. I'm not necessarily calm, um, or the way that I do stay calm is that I just allow my brain to go crazy. I feel when we lose control of ourselves, when we try to control the thoughts that are going on in our heads or control the situation that we are in, the endeavors that we are in. When you try to control something too much, you do it with a tense hand, and with a tense hand, it becomes rigid, and anything rigid breaks if it cannot bend. So I try to bend like the reeds in the wind. I don't want to be so rigid that I don't. And if my mind is thinking crazy thoughts and fearful thoughts and the worst case scenario, I let it happen. I try not to attach myself to it or control those thoughts, because the minute that I do, I have associated myself with those thoughts. And now I'm really fearful and going crazy.
No, that makes sense. I love this conversation and just figuring out how your mind works, right? With that being said, you said it's not about your opponent, but you have Sean Woodson across from you, guy with only one loss, and people are looking at him like, okay, we want to see what he does against Alex. How good is he? Alex is that testing point for him. But when you go in there, is there anything specific that you studied or you trained this entire camp for Sean? Or are you just going to play it like, hey, where it's just another guy in front of me? I'm going in here and we'll see what happens.
For the most part, yes. But of course, like with every fight, we do watch tape. We do understand our opponents. We spar accordingly. We try to get guys in that match their style and height or whatever it may be.
Yeah,
The best that I can take away from this is that he's very tall. He knows how to manage his range quite well. He has pretty good takedown defense. And, you know, yeah, that's about it. It's not taken away from the guy or anything like that. But yeah, he throws a lot of volume. He manages it like that. He's a tall dude, so we practice on fighting
so
tall guys. I try to manage the distance of the cage and try to utilize that jab very well. But other than that, I try not to complicate things too much. Everybody is the same in general. That we're gonna go out there and fight, and everybody's different when you hit them.
definitely. Last question then is looking at this, 35, about to be 36. I'm born in the same year, so I know the math offhand. But you said it doesn't look like you're slowing down. Doesn't look like you're having trouble with the weight, which a lot of people say like happens with age. You've been in this weight class forever. You seem very comfortable. What does the next 5 years look like for you? Because the last five damn near was more successful than the five before that. Like you had a great stretch there. And even in your last couple of fights, you're up, down, but competitive in everything. What's the next 5 years look like for you?
Uh, like I can't really tell you. I'm gonna keep doing it as long as my body feels good. I feel good right now. I don't feel um older, or I guess, I don't feel like the age is catching up to me. I do get confused. I can admit that I do get confused. I look at my face sometimes. I'm like, damn, I'm 35. I can't believe it. And I don't feel 35, as well as like when I'm training with guys in the gym that are like 20 in their 20s and stuff, and I see them getting tired and I'm doing every single round. I'm like, oh, I'm definitely not 35. There's got to be something to it. But I think it's just because I love it so much. I don't it has to do with the love of everything. I feel, how would you say, love transcends all things, and that's across the board. When you love your spouse or your partner, whatever it may be, that will transcend all the problems you might have. When you love the job you do, you're not going to be stressed out as the next person that doesn't really like their job. And even if you don't love your job, you just got to love what you're doing, or just being yourself doing it. I can't say that I loved being a busboy when I was coming up, but I loved the fact that I could bust tables, you know, and I did it with a joy and a fervor and a love to the actions that, you know, when people saw me do it, they just promote me, they'll pay me more and they'll just do that. And that's what people, or life, because I feel everybody is just an appendage of life, this energy of life. And when life sees you loving your work or loving anything you do or anyone, it rewards you. You know, it gives you more. And sometimes that reward looks like difficulty,
Yeah.
but simply because once you transcend that difficulty, the reward will feel that much more greater. It's like breath does not feel good as when you come up for breath after taking a deep breath underwater. You know, nothing like water doesn't taste better unless you're thirsty.
Mm.
So sometimes life will make things difficult so that you can feel that same love at a higher level.
I swear to God, I could talk to you all day. This is incredible. That was supposed to be my last question, but I always thought they called you Bruce Leroy because of the fighting style, maybe the look when you first started. Is it because you're so like philosophical and like just the way you speak and the way you think? Where did the nickname come from? And have you just always been like this?
Well, I can't say I've always been this way. I definitely was a little bit more knuckleheaded when I was younger. I would have to admit, you know, I was feisty, if there was lack of a better term. But it came from actually like here's my one of my managers, Abraham. His brother Malky, the he from first round management, he actually was training with me one day randomly at a gym before I even knew who he was or he knew who I was, and we started training together. I tapped him out a few times. He's like, "Oh, yeah, you're pretty good." He's like, "You know what you look like? You look like that guy from that movie, The Last Dragon." So I went home and I watched the movie, and then they started calling me Bruce Leroy, and the name just stuck. So it had nothing to do with philosophical or the looks or anything like. It just had to do with the fucking movie, which was a great movie, by the way. It was
It
a cult
is.
classic. I loved it. But yeah, that's where it came from. It came from The Last Dragon.
Good, good. We got to find someone in the UFC with the nickname Show Enough, and we'll just book the fight. That's the next thing we need. Nah, I appreciate it, Alex, man, and can't wait to watch you fight this weekend. Truthfully, like you've gotten so much better over the past couple of years. I feel like age aside, like you're just scratching the surface of what you can do and will do. So I look forward to watching it. Appreciate you. Appreciate you taking this time out.
Thank you. Yeah, I do feel that way. I do feel that I'm always getting better. That's what I don't know. I guess if I have to like say a goal, like let's just bring that back real quick. Yeah, I always pictured in my mind of being even old and gray with like the long Fu Manchu mustache and being masterful at my skill. Like I want to be that 50 or 60-year-old whooping 25-year-old professional fighters' asses because like what the fuck, where is he coming from? But I feel we should always get better with age, you know, no matter what, even if we lack a physicality, like, okay, the 20-year-old's definitely going to have more muscle mass, be more athletic, but the know-how and the wisdom should never fail you. That skill should become sharp as a knife that no matter how much muscle tissue you have, I can slice right into the tendons and you won't even know it.
Definitely. I just want to see you with this beard. Like, I don't want to see you shave this Fu Manchu and we're just in a full like kung fu flick. I need that. But yeah,
It's taken forever, but yeah, it's hard for me
we'll
to
get
grow my
there. You got like another 10 years in the octagon. You'll be fine. By the end of it, full gray Fu Manchu. Everyone, that was Alex Caceres. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, man.
Thank
Look
you.
forward
Thank
to
you.
the fight this weekend.